That you should be very clear. And for that, you should have a very basic idea. You should have a clear idea of your theoretical foundation. You should know what your data sources are and the statistical relevance of your paper. Again, if we look into it, the result and discussion section, it can be split into two parts, depending upon your quantitative or qualitative analysis, how you are going to do it. Remember that you should interpret your findings. What I see mostly, and this is, I would say, so we have done some research, we have collected some data, and we are writing those data down. Say, for example, giving example from geography. In geography, it is very much practiced to put some bar diagram or pie diagram, or anything like that. In other disciplines, something else would be most important. What you have collected the data and what you are writing down, that doesn't matter. What is important is how you interpret your finding. So, taking a particular example, say for example, I am studying the socio-economic condition of one particular block or one particular village in one particular district of one particular state. So I came up with there are 50 families, there are 700 males, there are 1000 females, and there are so many children, and so forth and so forth. How does it help if I do not interpret the finding? What does it mean if in a village there are 700 males and 1000 females? What does it mean in the broader context? And if I do not bring it, say for example, what is the sex ratio for country? It stands somewhere around 9, if I'm not wrong, it's 950 or 960 females per 1000 males. So what does it mean? That in our country, our sex ratio is skewed against the females. There are more males than females. So if in a village, a particular village, if there are more females than male, what does it mean? If I am not able to explain that, the research doesn't serve a purpose. And only way I can explain that if I have the broader knowledge of what it means. Number one, it can mean, especially in context of Bihar, it will mean that there is unemployment and able-bodied males have gone out of that village to search work, leaving the females behind. Or it can mean something else also, but for explaining that, for interpreting that, we have to be very clear about two things. What is so different happening in that village from other villages, number one. And number two, what are the broader trends? What has the previous works talked about in those particular regions where there are more females than males in particular villages? So, yeah, when I am talking about just producing data, going to the field, collecting data and producing the data makes no sense until and unless you have interpreted them. And interpreted them in a context where your audience can understand, depend upon whatever subject you are, or whatever area where you are publishing. You must explain your findings and how they are justifiable. Then comes the important thing is how do you fit those things, and if they do not within the theoretical framework you are working on. Say for example, just while talking about my previous example, my professor told me that my work was not critical enough. What does that mean? That simply means that my professor, she was more trained with Marxist geography, and whatever things which I was data which I was gathering from the field, she wanted me to look beyond what is there and look at the structures, the agencies which is working over there to make or behave particular individuals in the way they behave. So that is the theoretical framework. If you are working on in a critical framework, if you are looking at a Marxist framework, your research must address them. What are the structures? What are the agencies? And say, for example, if you are not working in that framework, if you are working in a, say, for example, positivist framework, your work should address different issues. So whatever work you are doing, you must be able to justify them. Say, for example, in geography, the most famous publication or publication for critical geographers is Antipode. So if you want to get your paper published in Antipode, your work should be of that framework. It should not be in a positivist framework and you submit it to Antipode and expect that Antipode is going to publish your paper. It is not going to publish your paper. So you should also know where you are trying to get yourself published. What kind of work that particular magazine, that particular journal, what kind of work they get published, what kind of work they are looking for. And then you should write papers in that way in which, number one, you are comfortable with, and number two, that particular magazine house, that particular journal house gets work done. So that becomes very important. That homework becomes very important before you try to get yourself published. And then your paper should have a good concluding section. It should start with what you have done. You should summarize your work, make your points, and at the end you should reflect on the implications of your finding in the research journal area as general, and in research and policy process as applicable. And this is an important part why some of us lose fundings. Because especially with if we look at ICISR and things like that, where there is an important section of how your research is going to contribute to the knowledge and what are the broader societal implications about your research. And most of us fail in writing those sections in a manner in which it should be written. So anyway, with this, I think, these are also very important. What you must not do when you are trying to get yourself published, you should not write complicated sentences. Do not unnecessarily use technical terms. Don't be repetitive with your ideas. Don't indulge with plagiarism, and be sure. Okay, that is something my mistake. Be sure of the accuracy of your work, data, and method. With these, I think I will close my presentation, and I think time is also up. So, yeah.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Dr. Sanjeev, for your very enlightening and detailed presentation today. I hope the participants were able to grasp the whatever our resource person today wanted to convey. It was a very important topic. Yesterday also, when Professor Sharif was giving his presentation, he has pointed out that we really need to concern ourselves on the quality of the research that we are going to bring out from our institutions. And we also found time for an important discussion, like what are the challenges that we are facing as academicians for doing good research. So thank you once again, and also thank you all the participants for joining us today. Tomorrow we'll join at the same time, 1:30 p.m. for another session, a very important session on a different topic. So once again, thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, for accepting our invitation to be the resource person for this faculty development program.
Thank you.
So good afternoon.
For giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.